I went to Shags to visit my folks once after the wedding, and I remember being shocked at the amount of Boda Bodas on the roads. And I said to myself, this must be a massive economy. I should look into this. I should own a Boda Boda. So I conducted interviews with riders, found out how it works, how they get paid, how they earn money, what the cost of the Boda Boda is, which one is the most popular one and why it's the most popular. And we decided to start a Boda Boda business. And so I bought a Boda with the savings.
So you just bought one?
Yeah, because that's all we had money for.
But you bought a nice new one?
Yeah, brand new, 85K. I hired the guy and went with him to Khetia's supermarket, and he picked it out himself and wrapped it himself. He was so excited. I had put together a 5-page contract in English and Swahili, spelling out the terms of his engagement. So
how did you even find this Boda guy? Because now this is your first employee.
Everyone in Western Kenya and they are sure.
Oh, so you were not bringing this guy to Nairobi? This was...
No, it's Webuye. Because that's where they were needed, you know what I mean? Rural Kenya.
You didn't think at the moment maybe we can use this guy in Kenya?
Nairobi. That thought occurred to me later.
Okay.
So in Webuye at the time, the riders were paying the owner of the bike 350 bob a day. Yeah. So anything over and above that they collected in a day was theirs.
So and they pay for their own fuel?
Yeah. Pay their own fuel. So what I did is my 5-page contract included obligations for me, which were I'd pay for insurance, which a lot of Boda Boda riders don't or didn't do at the time. I covered for insurance, especially for the passenger safety. I don't think there was comprehensive insurance for Bodas at the time. Very few companies were willing to touch Boda Bodas. I paid for maintenance every so often, which is oil change and whatnot. Anything over and above that damage to the body parts was on them, which I would deduct from their pay, or they would pay me for. And then I would buy them a helmet for themselves and one for the passenger. That was important for me. No one was doing that at the time. Now, if they paid me faithfully for the specified term, which I think for Webuye was 21 months, if I remember correctly, if they paid me for 21 months consistently without fail, except for Sundays, because I wanted them to have the ability to rest if they wanted to, then I would give them the bike. I would transfer the logbook into their name and they can do what they want. They don't have to pay me anymore. And I give them a leg up. The reason I did that is because according to our computations, I was gonna make my money back after I think 18 months or 15 months. And then I was collecting profit after that up until they get the bike. And the profits worked out to way better than the bank was giving us in interest. So for me, it was a great way to utilize capital, to grow the capital and empower another human being's life. Yeah, so that's how we started.
Okay, I want to hear about this Boda Boda business. So what happens? You buy the bike, the guy goes, first of all, does he start faithfully paying you the 50 bucks a day?
They always start faithfully. By 8 p.m. he had to send me the money. So 8 p.m. was suddenly my favorite time of the day, because my MPESA phone was going off the hook.
And now you were experiencing mobile money, which you hadn't.
Yeah, which I hadn't previous to coming home. They always started out well, and then they start goofing around. Don't miss a payment today, give you excuses. Finally, this guy went like 4 days without paying me. And I guess he figured, since I'm in Nairobi, it's too far. Shock on him. I was on a Mathri to Webuye at 4 in the morning. At 11 o'clock, I had retrieved my bike. In fact, the guy, as it turns out, had been arrested because he was stopped and he tried to hepa. And so they impounded the bike and threw him in prison, in the cell. So I went and told the cops that's my bike. I showed them my contract. They let me have my bike back. The guy remained in there to think about his life. So I immediately got another rider.
The demand is there.
There are plenty. And off we went. So by this time, the English to Swahili translation we had done by my parents-in-law, because they're Tanzanians. They speak Swahili sanifu. Ours was pathetic. And I wanted it to be legit, so that they understood the terms. Surprisingly, and the reason I did this is because I realized after a while, a lot of our community members in that sector cannot read in English. Yeah, you can communicate in English, but they can't read.
What?
Yeah, so it was important that we made every effort to ensure that they understood
the agreement
that they have signed. That also dignified the process for them, because very few of them ever get to sign a contract for anything, So going through that
process, also puts
process,
responsibility on them. They
absolutely, they understand this is a serious thing, and I would get their wives or immediate sibling or parents to co-sign and witness with them, and in some cases even the local chief.
What?
Yeah, so that there's no confusion about whose responsibility is what, so that when I go nuclear on you and nyanganya you the bike, you have no ground to stand on, right? So that was an interesting process, and in that process, my father-in-law, who translated with my mother-in-law, later on called. It was actually the first time he had called me as his new son-in-law. I was a bit worried. And, he asked me how I'm doing. I said, I'm fine. He asked, how's the Boda Boda business? It's great, a bit challenges here and there, but it's good. We're still getting paid on a daily basis, so I'm happy. And he said, after I read through your contract as a translator, I was very impressed at the whole angle you took to empower them by giving them the bike after some time. This is what, Africa needs. This is what I've always done since I could work. And I've heard from his children and other family members how many laptops he's bought for people in the village, bicycles, you name it. I mean, he's always giving empowering, a leg up to the young people. So I knew he meant it. And he says to me, with your permission, Mama and I would like to participate with you, if you would allow.
Oh, wait.
And I was like, we're honored. Whatever you need, let us know. And he said, well, I'm thinking, we'd like to buy 2 bikes.
Whoa.
Yeah, we'll buy 2 bikes. And we don't want any of the money back. You just keep the profits according to your structure. As long as you just promise us you'll give the bike away as per your agreement, that's all we're happy about. We've empowered the youth, and we've supported our son. And I was speechless, right? Because that meant
tripled
my bike population. my fleet was growing, and we agreed fine. So he said, let's plan to meet next Wednesday, and I'll give you the funds. I was like, great.
Did that include the insurance, everything?
Yeah, he had done his math for everything. And so...
because of course you had seen the contract, helmet, everything.
Yeah. And he's an organized, he's a professor, he's...
no nonsense.
He's an organized gentleman. So he... Getting his feedback that way was a huge encouragement for me. Because coming from the development industry, World Agroforestry Center, he understood about community building, and that told me that I was on to a good thing, So weekend comes and he calls me. I think it was a Sunday, and he says, Solomon, I have some bad news. I know we planned for Wednesday, but I have to travel on Tuesday, so can we meet tomorrow instead? And I'm thinking to myself, that's not bad news. Okay, come to my office, be at my office by such and such a time. So I showed up, I was on time. He gave me a tour of his amazing office at ECRAF and introduced me to his colleagues, the guy who just took his daughter.
The firstborn daughter.
Yeah, so he sits me down and he says, I love his generation. They're always so cryptic, man. He says to me, Solomon, in our tradition, people hardly ever tell you the truth about things. For instance, in the village where I'm from, our neighbor,
I see where this is going.
our neighbor might tell us, we're welcoming you for a goat eating session. Tomorrow we would be honored if you joined us. And you say yes, and when you show up, you find that they slaughtered a goat, 2 goats or a cow instead. They are rarely truthful. They never tell you the truth. So I was a bit confused, like, where is this conversation going? And you could tell I wasn't getting it. They said, anyway, please accept this. This is for 4 bikes, not 2.
What?
Yeah. So our fleet grew instantly.
Oh my God! You suddenly have 5 bikes.
Yeah, 5 bikes. So I bought 2 in Machakos. 3 in Machakos, 1 in Syokimau.
Yo.
Yeah, and it was going well.
Okay, so hold on. So you buy these things, you get the riders.
Yeah, I interview the riders. I have to make sure they're licensed. 85% of them were not licensed back then, which is an issue, because then if they're not licensed, insurance means nothing.
Yeah,
and the liability to you is high as an owner of the vehicle. So it took me a long time to find licensed guys, and then we go through the agreement. Once they're happy with the terms, I meet their wives, if they're married, or as a close sibling, or their parents if they're not. And then final step is we go together to Car in General, and they pick the bike they like the most, and off we go. I fill the tank for them. The first tank was on me, and off they go.
You tell them 8 p.m. is the time.
8 p.m. boss.
Can you remember the first time you got five bikes
boss,
on the road?
Yeah, dude.
8 p.m.
Absolutely. And Webuye was the cheapest. I was getting 400 a day from Machakos and 500 from Syokimau.
What?
Yeah. So I tried to do a 6th one in Isiolo, because Isiolo at the time they were paying 700 bob a day because there were fewer.
Yeah.
But it didn't. I couldn't find anyone licensed up there.
Okay. So are you like, yo, I'm becoming Sandy. Let me become into the Boda Boda business.
I had a plan to give away. My goal was to give away 1,000 bikes.
What?
Yeah, to buy, operate under that sort of structure, and give away 1,000 bikes.
Okay. Now, as somebody who's back from Kenya, back in Kenya, from the diaspora, a place with order, what kind of challenges, and now you're working with the locals, so what kind of challenges do you begin to face? Because you're not doing the Boda Boda business now.
Yeah, so issues around integrity are a problem here. They really are. People don't want to stick to agreements. Several times I had to get cops involved to retrieve my bikes, because after a month or 2 of paying properly, they start to play games. And that can be a challenge.
Now your job becomes following these guys.
Yeah, and we have an agreement clearly spelled out. They agreed to it in advance. Not only that, I'm giving them the bike. Normally, they do that until the bike dies. Then they look for another bike or another employer, or they buy their own. I was giving them the bike free of charge, right? I wasn't charging them any more than they typically pay to say that they had bought a bike. Everything was exactly as is the norm, except I was giving them the bike. Depending on the daily rate they were paying me, they'd get the bike sooner or later. The guy in Syokimau was getting the bike in, I think, 13 months.
13 months?
13 months, yeah, because I broke even in 6 months.
Ah, man.
After costs, my 100K came back plus 50 on top in profit. And it was passive. I wasn't managing anything. The guy is operating the bike. Me, I'm busy doing my own thing, looking for gainful employment or ideating other businesses. 8 p.m., my phone pings. I have my 500 bob. It's all gravy. But every now and then, also I thought, yeah, I mean, there's always going to be knuckleheads who don't get what you're trying to do, or they assume you're stupid for trying to help them. Yeah, because they're not used to it. I don't know, whatever the reason is. So what happened eventually, the guys in Machakos became completely disappointing. I brought the bikes to Syokimau. The first guy I gave a bike in Syokimau, a gentleman called Peter Nyaga from Embu. This guy used to give me headaches. My God, he's just a difficult guy to deal with. Even talking is like a fight. Everything, even when he calls to say hello, it's like an insult. You know, it's like just interpersonal, and I'm a trained sales guy. I know how to overcome objections. This guy was just
now complaining like about what?
No, not really complaining. His whole
tone.
engagement and tone was always confrontational. Always. It's like someone was always trying to get over him, and he has to fight and protect himself. And at some point I told him, listen, Peter, that's my bike. I didn't have to give it to you. I can give it to someone else. If you're not happy, just tell me when we end it. And then I think at some point he realized we were for real. We were not being wishy-washy about it. He turned out to be the best rider we've ever had.
What?
This guy, he would send faithfully all week, and then on the last day, on Saturday, he'll send everything for next week in advance.
What?
Because he's saving, right? He's saving.
Yeah.
Because he might make 3,000 bob in a day. He's
So
only
he
paying
says,
me 500.
exactly.
So he decides to top up. He's like, hey, Solomon, mi bike mi naitaka mapema. Ulisema utanipatia, sasa tutaona, utanipatia. And sure enough, the guy got the bike in like 5 months.
What?
Yeah.
And then you made back all your cash.
No,
And profits.
Plus profit, yeah. The guy got his logbook. He was beside himself. So a couple weeks later, he calls. He says, "Aya, nataka uninunulie gine." And I'm like, ya kwanza ulifanyia nini? Hiyo unajua niliona ile mpago yako ni mzuri sana. Hata mimi nimefanya hivyo. Kuna kijana nimepatia, ananilipa kila siku. Sasa nataka uninunulie gine mimi niendeshe.
No way. And of course you were like, of course. This guy is delivering.
Tuende kazi. And he would prepay also. So he got the second bike.
No way.
Yeah, got the second bike. He asked for a third one.
No freaking way.
No, I'm serious. Dude got 3 bikes. So I asked him, hii ya pili utafanya nini? Hiyo nilishauza nikanunua eka 3 nyumbani. Hata nilituma mama huko anarima chakula mzuri sana. And like, dude bought 3 acres from selling a bike. I need to talk to this guy, man. School me, man. I mean, Peter was just...
and he prepared, he did the same with the third bike?
Yeah, paid, got the logbook.
Okay, so there's something that I'm hearing from you. It's extremely difficult to find people who are trustworthy and with integrity. But when you do, in this country, the kind of labor force that is there is insane.
Legit. They work hard, man, and they're appreciative. He would call sometimes randomly on a weekday. Solomon, ogena mama. And she'd take the phone and say hello. Nilikuwa tunataka nikwambie leo jioni sisi wote na watoto tulikuombea na familia yako. Kwa sababu tunakula mzuri, watoto wanaenda shule, unatusaidia sana. Tunakuombea uendelee hivyo. I was like, wow.
Man, that must have been fulfilling. That's a gratitude thing.
Yes,
that's a gratitude thing that you talked about way back.
There you go. His gratitude was just pulling
out
more out.
Just wants him to pop out.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, as difficult as he was honest. He calls like, Solomon, sasa saya oil change imefika, ulisema utaripiaga oil change. Like, sawa, utaripa kweli?
So what is it? It sounds like the workforce doesn't trust. They have
because they're constantly just...
It's like there was a culture
like
within...
crap.
Yes, there was a culture within them that it was just like...
Yeah, people don't keep their word. So even this contract, like he didn't trust, like, is this guy gonna give me the bike really? So finally when I did, I told him, sasa umelipa siku ya mwisho, usitume tena. Ukitaka kuuza bike, ukitaka kuichoma, uitupe, hiyo ni shauri yako, ni bike yako, sio yangu tena. And then he got the logbook and he was like, wow, okay, this was for real.
But why are you doing that? Why are you giving him the bike? You're just newly married. You don't have a job.
Because my goal was simply to grow my capital. I mean, if giving the bike ensured that I was paid on time for the duration, then so be it. So, I took a very business perspective on it. So I understood as a bike, the moment I bought it and it was off the showroom floor, it was worth less than I paid for it.
Depreciating, yes.
A depreciating liability, not even an asset. Because until you finish paying for it, or until it's paid you back its cost, it's a liability.
Yep. And it's variable cost as well.
Yeah. So that money would have been sitting in a savings account earning 6%, less monthly ledger fees, less withholdings tax. So this way I'm earning 50% in 13 months. Worst case scenario, 18 months. Call it 24 months. That's 25% a year net. Way better than any bank was offering. And I got to impact another human being's life in ways you can never calculate. For instance, according to him, they were not eating balanced diets until he had the bikes.
Until his wife is calling.
Yeah. He became a landowner.
Ooh. He became a businessman.
Do you have any idea what that means to a man with a family?
Yeah.
Yeah, she can grow her own food and sell it even. That's another income stream for them. The financial security it gave them at that level, and its impact on their children. The children were going to school, getting an education. You literally cannot calculate the impact of that in the future. How many lives you've affected. You know, this is what, as much as I hate to use the term, this is what bottom-up economy is all about. Yeah, because if I withhold...
No endorsement. Just let's be good.
No endorsement whatsoever.
Yeah.
Thank you. If I withhold a payment or if I make a payment, it's trickling down, it's circulating. The guy I paid is paying someone else who's paying someone else. Every level down, someone's getting fed. Someone's hospital bill is getting paid. Someone's school fees is getting paid. You literally cannot calculate the impact of that. So that for me was what it was all about. It's why my father-in-law
got it.
He got it and he wanted to participate.
And through his participation, you made even more revenue.
Exactly.
But I need to ask this, and it's so sad that I have to ask this question, but I need to ask it because of the landscape that we are in economically as Kenyans and the mindset that Kenyans have. What made you not look and say, if I'm doing 25%, why not do 100%? Do you get what I mean? And 100% means you're not going to give that guy the bike, a working bike.
Yeah.
You're going to push that bike until that guy, you'll be giving him a bike, but a dead bike. You get what I mean? A bike that literally will be a liability to him more than it will be something that provides for him.
Honestly, that for me just came from a faith perspective understanding that we have been blessed to be a blessing. It's about loving our neighbor as ourselves. So I always ask myself to this day, if I'm doing something for someone or giving something to someone, I always ask myself, would I be okay receiving this thing?
That's something that I'm giving.
Yeah. Would I appreciate it the way it has been given, in the condition it's in? If the answer is no, I have no business doing it. None.
Dude.
Because then I'm just simply setting myself up to harvest exactly what I am sowing. And I want to harvest good. I want to harvest good things.
Well,
so I sow good. It's, you know, it's one of those universal principles. It works for everyone, whether you're a Christian or not. It's a universal principle. You reap what you sow. And that to me is what it's all about, after understanding that I am impacting the life of another. You know, there's one of my favorite scriptures says, he who lends to the poor, he who gives to the poor, he who gives to the poor lends to God.
Yeah.
And he will repay. And God never just repays.
Yeah.
He gives it with interest.
And God hates debt.
God will not be indebted to anyone.
Yeah.
I love putting God in debt. Like, any chance I have to do it in an excellent way, as excellent as I can. I mean, it boils down to, with my kids now, and trying to pass on these lessons, because I wish I'd learned them earlier. I believe I might be a bit further along in my life goals in general and financially had I learned them earlier. So I'm trying to give my kids the opportunity. And the other day, you know, they were asking for new pairs of shoes, and the shoe rack was like overflowing with their shoes that they've outgrown, right? Or some are damaged and so on. And I said, guys, you need to make room. You want new shoes, you need to make room for them. So either throw out the ones you're not using or give them away. Give the ones you really like, give them away. That's how you make room for the new ones that you like even more. And they were a bit confused. And so anyway, they put them together and we went through them, and I told them, if someone gave you those shoes with the missing buttons or the laughing mouth and the tongue is sticking out, would you like it? It's like, no. So why would you give it to someone? Just throw it out. If it's not good enough for you, it's not good enough for anyone else. Ooh. Yeah. Ooh. And so that's why, because I put myself in those guys' shoes. Granted, I have made my money back. I'm not about throwing money away. It's a precious resource. Made my money back. It's given me a better return than a bank would have offered passively. And I have afforded this guy the opportunity to own a bike, something he might never have been able to do, at least not anytime soon.
Yes.
And what that does for his family and the acceleration. You know, I think about these things a lot because they matter. They really do. And I think we, as a people, we have to think beyond ourselves in those terms. And this is something I see people in the West, for whatever reason, are very conscious about. And we're not. Maybe we used to be and we've lost sight of it. I don't know. But, you know, my last boss in Houston, Paul Goodrow, the tough as nails guy, made a statement once in the office about how he was sending his 12-year-old daughter to Swiss boarding school when she turned 16. And someone asked him, why would you do something so cruel as to send her away from you before she's an adult? And he said, well, I worried about that as well, but we've been going every year since she turned 12 to the Swiss boarding school in the summer for a tour of the school. She's met her future teachers, she's spoken to students. She loves it, she can't wait to go. So we've oriented her.
Yes. And
I asked, so what's the whole point? There's good schools in the US or closer in Canada maybe. Why send her to, and he said, you know, because of the kinds of people that go to that school, chances are very high her desk mate will be the Princess of Norway. And if she's there long enough, she might be the next queen of Spain. And my grandkids will be royalty. And just like that, this high school dropout enters lineage, royal lineage, and my family tree is never the same. Like, it was such a calculated thing. He said, but I thought about the impact of education on human beings and the opportunities that opens up, which is what he was talking about. You literally cannot calculate. You can't calculate the impact. And the same is true inversely. You know, if you steal public funds and deny human beings access to decent health care and a good education, you cannot calculate the cost to unborn generations. And that's on you. So if something's gonna be on me, I'd rather it be a positive. And so those are some of the things that motivate.
Hey, dude, I can feel your passion with this conversation.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me change some batteries. We're coming back to continue this conversation.